Hey there guys, Nolen and Jason here with Roofing Webmasters.
Howdy.
All right, today's one is interesting. And just to full disclosure here, we did this earlier, but the podcast wasn't concise.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. We were all over the place, more than usual.
Yeah. So this one's going to be, the title of this, and we're going to stick to a really good point, is Welcome to the Big Show of Roofer Marketing. Are you in it?
Right.
So welcome to the big show of roofer marketing. Are you in it?
Up until very recently, we were divas and we would not do 2 takes.
Oh,
but
yeah.
We've started trying to improve our game a little bit.
I want to put bad content out there. I think I've told you this. I hadn't said it. So I was watching Joe Rogan, and he had on Jimmy, whatever his name on is, Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast, yeah.
Anybody who has a kid knows Mr. Beast, and probably anybody who doesn't have a kid knows Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
But Mr. Beast said, don't put out bad content at all.
Yeah.
And it resonated with me. The guy's brilliant and a little full of himself, but rightfully so.
If you were his age and had that much money, you would be too.
Yeah. But he was just talking a mile a minute on Rogan, and it was fascinating. I listened to tons of it, and that was my big takeaway. And I'm like, you know what? If it's not good content, I'm not putting it out there.
We'll redo it or just trash it.
Yeah, so this is a huge point that people miss. This is huge because it is the big show. I didn't know how to respond to this guy. You know I hate the word just, J-U-S-T.
Yeah.
Do you just do this?
Just is a 4-letter word. We used to say that all the time.
It's disrespectful to professional people.
Right.
I don't even want to call us professional. We are professional marketers. There's hardly any professional digital marketing agencies. They're all bums.
Yeah.
But we are like a professional service, like an accountant or a good accountant.
We're not like a professional service. We are a professional service.
The same as. Yeah, people don't treat us that way.
No.
The same as. You don't go get the worst CPA you can find. It's like, I'm going to call 10. Who's the dead cheapest? Like, it's like that guy over there that pulls teeth on the side with flies everywhere and doesn't wash his hands in between dental work is also a CPA.
Well, I bet he's cheap as that. I get my tooth pulled while I'm doing it.
Who was the guy from Cannonball Run that was the proctologist?
Oh, the eyeball guy. I cannot remember his name.
That is the equivalent of what people will accept for their digital marketing agency. The cross-eyed, he had the lazy eye.
Yeah, he has the lazy eye. He's a classic actor. He's in all kind of westerns.
His middle finger was really long. Do you remember that? Burt Reynolds.
And every time they opened the truck, they would play that organ music when they'd show his face. Because
it was
so spooky.
Fantastic. And you watch that stuff now, it doesn't translate to enjoyment of television, like Smoking the Bandit and stuff. It's just
everybody's like,
it's too slow and it is offensive. And I think he said, do you have your equipment or your tools? And he pulls his middle finger out. And his middle finger was like, do you remember? Like, his middle finger was like profanely long. It was like disgusting. Anyway, but people will get that guy. He's a doctor. Like, Nolen, a digital marketing agency told me. And I'm like, so I'm talking to this guy. He calls up. He's a roofer. I'm going to air quote. I'm going to slightly insult this category.
Okay.
Without regard on whether it hurts me or not with a client, because they technically don't become clients.
Yeah.
He's a storm-chasing restoration roofer.
Like water restoration.
Yes. He did that too.
Yeah.
So let me explain that. He not necessarily a storm-chasing. He was I don't have a problem with a storm chaser. He was a storm restoration company. And he looked for leads for storms.
Right.
These people don't seem to recognize the fact that they have a real company.
Yeah.
They look at themselves as an opportunistic party to a storm situation, but they don't look at their company as a company with a brand.
Right.
And it's really vastly different. So there was a couple of things, and as I'm talking to this guy, and I could tell some more about why he did everything. So he's technically just a storm restoration general contractor. He would take a roof, he would take water, he would take mold, he would take siding, he would take anything that could plug into Xactimate, which I don't have a problem with either. Problem is, Google has a problem with it and users have a problem with it.
This isn't our problem, this is a making it work problem.
Right.
This is getting Google to recognize it problem.
Because nobody wants to call a water restoration guy to do their roof.
Right.
I wouldn't, you wouldn't, nobody would.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not working for you because of, but so when we were talking about it, and he may become a client actually. He could end up becoming a client, but he understands that he needs to have user intent in some specific category, like a roofer, right? And
so he listened to you a little bit.
He did listen, but they never seemed to get into that headspace.
Right. Yeah.
And so when we talked for a little while, he said, so you just do Google? And I'm like, so understand the nature, for me, things kind of slow down. I kind of enter the upside down a little bit. Things get kind of wonky. Maybe there's some weird snowflakes that don't.
When you hear that word.
That just kind of, that don't obey the laws of gravity, so stuff just kind of like, and I'm like, things just kind of slow down like a bad matrix. It's not a good, I'm moving slow, but I'm not dodging bullets. So it's this like
the bullet time in the new Matrix movie, which was under the control of the machines instead of Keanu.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's not a good matrix. It's not a good upside down. And I'm like, woo. And I'm like, well. And I said, you know what? You're a guy who calls. I said, humor me for just 90 seconds here. You called for leads. He said, yeah. I said, you get leads by branding. You get leads by branding on Google. Over 80% of people go to Google to look for home services, and over 70% of the people, once on Google, click on a non-paid item. Right. And I said, just let that sink in a little bit. So the vast majority of leads are coming off of, or the majority are coming off of Google.
Yeah.
Non-paid. That means map, reviews, keyword rankings.
Organic, meaning based on your brand.
And that's from getting, a design, code, content, regular work, digital signaling to Google that judges you and then shows you in non-paid rankings. And then they'll always say, but Nolen, do you do SEO? And I'm like, that is SEO. That is the SEO.
Dude, clients sometimes call me after they've been with us for 90 days, like 3 months, and they're like, hey, do you guys do SEO? And I'm like, sometimes I want to say, why did you sign up? But I mean, I understand why they did, but it's just like
okay not
you
to.
Kind of, I understand they don't know,
right?
And it's just frustrating sometimes when you get the same questions over and over. And I'm always like, well, yes, that umbrella term covers everything we do,
right?
And they'll be like, well, I thought SEO was this.
That's what that misunderstood umbrella term covers.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, well, yes and no. And then you go through and explain everything.
So I said, so we don't just do this one thing. And I said, for the record, it's Google, Yahoo, Bing, but Google's it's 90% of it. And that's where the word big show.
Right.
I said, so we help you with, let me explain to you this way. And I gave him a little backdrop. We help you with the big show. You're going after the craps and crumbs and the scum.
Right.
That's what show you're used to. We help you with the big show. It's not worthy of the word just because it's just the whole damn pie.
Right.
So
put this in pro wrestling terms, we're helping you headline WrestleMania, and that other stuff you're looking like is indie shows in a high school gymnasium.
I guess so.
Anybody who knows wrestling knows what I'm saying.
I guess so, Jason. I loved wrestling back in the 80s and 90s, but it's been a long time for me.
See, that's the thing. That's the wrestling I still love. The stuff today, I sort of keep up with it, but I don't watch it regularly because it's so weird now.
I don't think that I use the word big show because of the wrestler, but
I can't hear big show
when Jason hears the word big
Paul
show.
White, big show. So.
Which is fine.
His theme goes off in my head.
I still like wrestling and stuff. I'm just not a modern day fan. How about that? I'm not a modern day fan, but it's good. I like the references.
Yeah, it's just funny that someone would say just Google, and just Google is the majority of leads you will ever.
So he said, you don't sell me, you don't do paid. I said, I do paid. We'll manage your paid advertising, but if I hook you up on paid, you're going to get disillusioned and quit within 6 months on average.
Right.
And I don't choose to spend our most valuable resources of this crew on that only. And that's why it wasn't included in all of it. And the conversation ended, as it does a lot. I mean, there was too much to have gone through for that guy to have bought there on the phone. Sometimes people know what they want, know me. He wasn't in good headspace, but he left and said, "You're the only guy that's been honest with me ever, and I may end up doing business with you because of it." I said, "Well, I'll do business with you if you have topical relevance and commit to that in a reasonable manner." And that means, because he had already suggested starting a new account with a new domain and a new GBP and a new company name. I said, "No, your company name is close enough. It just has a change. You get your state stuff put up, make sure that it's legal in your state. I don't have anything to do with that."
Right.
We do a submit for name change, handle any problems that ensue from that, use the same URL, same GBP. And then you would get your trust and tenure, you're topically relevant, and then we start the good fight.
Right.
And then you hopefully get up in ranking as quickly as you want. But the other one that you want, never get up in ranking because you're asking for too much.
Yeah.
And it's not.
And that can. We had a client call me today. Is opening a second location now, and it's a similar kind of deal. It's different because it's based on location instead of service provided.
Yeah, we were just talking about this.
But this client already has their office and everything. Their electricity's getting hooked up today at the new office. They did not consult with us before they did this. Never mentioned.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that if you've got expansion plans for your business that you have to run them past us. It's your business. Do what you want with it. But you should probably ask us what the impact could be on your marketing and how you market in that new area.
Right.
And as it happens, this client's opening a second location hundreds of miles from their main location. Mm-hmm. So they're automatically shooting themselves in the foot. And by the way, there is another major city like a third of the distance.
Well, they probably like this one city.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's a growing city. It has more people.
Right.
I get the choice in one sense, but in another, it's like you're going. We're in Texas, and they're going halfway across the state, which means it's a long way.
Jason's talking about how Google's going to review this, and so I want to add this to the podcast.
Yeah.
How can you participate in the big show? And how can you change your mindset from the bullshit propaganda you've been fed?
Right.
We talked about this before. It's like, why does someone think that they have to buy a lead only or that they're buying leads? It's because there's a lot of lead companies with massive amounts of private equity money and marketing dollars. There's software that does funneling and other things that will not do as well as you being a branded company online where you can partake in organic leads for a flat fee and build a brand and get the non-paid clicks.
Right.
That is the big show, but people think they have to buy a lead and people think they cannot participate in the big show. When this guy moves from one area and moves 300 miles away, and let's give some back information on this. Why does the guy have the ability to move to the new area? Because he's doing business with Roofing Webmasters and has been successful.
Right.
That is why.
Yeah.
That is one of the primary reasons. We are the majority of the reason for that. Now, could be some other factors like a storm or his business expertise and ability to be sharp enough to pick us to help him with as well, which points back to us again. But that's okay. Yeah. So he's there, but as that may sound to someone listening,
yeah,
this is effing true.
Yeah.
So people get to doing well because they made a few right decisions. They had some good business decisions deployed, and they're benefiting from marketing. Now they've made money, they hire an internal marketing person, they open another location or whatever it is, and then begin to make mistakes as they get away from their good professional people that they had. I don't know in any other line of work where you'd go, I'm doing great, I'm going to fire my attorney, fire my CPA, fire my bookkeeper. Is there anyone else professional around here? Oh, you're gone. You know, like Webmasters out. Everybody's gone. So
I'm hiring this paralegal. She's going to be our entire legal counsel.
Yeah. This guy cleans the toilets on the weekends. He manages the sales crew now. They're just done. So this guy's leaving the area, he's moving to another area,
right?
And told you this morning he doesn't want another website.
Yeah.
So guys, you cannot take one website and then keyword stuff in the other city's words and have Google think that you're locally topically relevant. So let's say that he has the word roof in the name, he's topically relevant, and he's getting good branded signaling. We're not going to go into all that.
Right.
He's kicking ass, hence the move.
Yeah.
So now he's killing his website and his brand because he's no longer local. Google wants to show topically relevant local people with good signaling, which is SEO.
Yeah. If he's very lucky, they won't downrank him
The original location.
in his original location. Because and we've seen this happen. You're thinking, oh, we'll keep everything we got here, but once you add this other location, if he was one city over and it was within 50 miles, we can do that.
Dallas-Fort Worth.
I mean, Dallas-Fort Worth, we do it here.
Yeah.
But you're talking 300 miles or whatever it is away.
He's not local.
Yeah, he's not local anymore. And all of a sudden, Google's looking at him and they're like, well, are you here or are you here?
So I'll give you a local example of this. This may not be quite perfect, but there's a town north of Fort Worth, Dallas, called Denton. Right. It's a large growing area. You could just call it Dallas. Let's just call it Dallas. So you're in Dallas with your roofing company, and you pop a location in Tulsa or Oklahoma City.
Right.
And so now on your website it says roofer. And so before you were banging in Dallas, you're kicking ass, you're in Denton, you're in Dallas, you're in Plano, you're in one big city around here.
Right.
And you've made money and you're like, hot damn, I love me some Oklahoma. I'm going to go up to Oklahoma and pop another location where I got my bug out, 200 acres. I'm going to shoot deer and live the dream.
Right.
Right?
We've actually had this exact
Dude,
thing
it is
happen.
a dream. I've got part of this dream.
Yeah.
I have a goal to learn how to field dress a deer. And you may not want to know what that is or how to do that.
I know how to do that.
You can field dress a deer?
Yeah.
Look at you, Jason.
My dad took me hunting when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I don't like doing it.
You hung a deer from a tree and...
Yeah.
All right. Props, bro. Props.
Dad taught me when I was a little kid. Welcome to the good old boy edition of Roofing Webmasters.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah. And as far as if you're going to move though, and you're going to go do all that, you're going to have to consider the marketing ramifications of the part here that's messed up is that somebody gets successful. I'm successful. I'm going to go somewhere else and not do the same shit. I'm going to go get a location, sign a lease, spend a bunch of money, but I'm not going to market in the same way.
Get phones and electricity and everything. Get a staff at the new location that I got to pay for.
And then,
but I don't want a second website to localize my business.
So guess who gets blamed for this bullshit?
Boom.
A year later.
Yeah.
It's us.
Yeah.
Because try to, obviously, we try to explain this stuff to people.
Oh, I did. I said, this is your best route.
And you know what they said? They said, this is how you should do it. Yeah, we're not looking to spend any money on the marketing.
We don't want to don't want to pay for a whole nother website. It's like, because at some point in the next year, 6 months to a year, they're going to be unhappy with the progression of their new location.
Absolutely.
And they're going to get a phone call.
They're going to call us.
Or well, before they call us, they may get a phone call from a less scrupulous agency. We'll say, oh yeah, we can put up a single site for both those locations.
Oh, yeah.
That's no problem.
No problem. We're going to do some shit work here. And what do you want? Leads? Well, you got leads. What, you need SEO? Yeah, I think I know what that acronym means. We can do SEO. I'll CEO the whole thing for it.
I was just thinking about that. We had a guy apply once to do sales for us, and on the phone with Nolen, he referred to SEO as CEO.
People, clients call it that all the time, but they deserve some grace on it. They're not supposed to know.
This is a guy calling to tell us he's going to sell it, and it's like, no.
Robert, tables? I love tables. Like, his eyes did the gopher thing. What the hell?
Should I tell that story?
Yeah, okay. I don't know if they can.
Long time ago, Nolen and our programmer Robert were interviewing a guy for a position with
web design.
For web design, actually. This is actually before my time.
Not for software.
And Robert, the question that Robert put to the web design guy was something to the effect of, "What do you know about tables?" And he was referring to HTML tables, which some of you may not know what that is.
I don't hardly know what it is, but it's a funny
it's something
story.
you do in web design, and that was the job, so the guy should have known. And the guy on the other side of the table they were sitting at looked down at the table. Yeah, I love tables. He was like completely...
He might have heard that word once in his life as it related to design. And And when Robert's eyes like literally bugged out, like on Ripley's Believe It or Not, like his eyes can bug just a little bit.
Yeah.
Did the gopher bug? And he looked at the guy and did that weird head turn, like. The guy's face went just like ghostly, and he realized, oh no, I was just kidding. But he obviously was not kidding. And Robert looked over at me, and he's like, oh my God, is this happening? But yeah, people will call you up, and they don't know jack shit. They don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know anything about what they're talking about.
And they will just tell you they can do whatever you want.
Well, these webmasters couldn't. Hey, we had this happen for years with a company that was very successful, and his son dominated their market but kept adding locations. And at one point we said, we can't add any more locations here. It is messing up your SEO. It's called keyword stuffing, and you're not topically relevant because you're not local.
Right.
And so the son had another location. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
And the son had another location, and they said, well, every year, about once every year to year and a half, they'd call up and say, how can we get more leads to this location? You need a website for that location attached to the GBP so it's localized. It's not working, and you're not doing pins or anything else either.
Yeah.
And then every year the son would go, Dad, I want more leads in the area. Well, these web guys, let's call them. And every year we describe the same thing.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, every year we go through, we get a call from the son, we get a call from the dad who owns the main company. And there's a lot of discussion and a lot of, we don't want to pay for a second site.
We have a very successful situation based upon what we do here with marketing, but we're unwilling to do that over here, but we want the same results.
Yeah. And it's, the other city is not as far as the way as the other one we were talking about, but it's over a state line. It's over a state line,
okay, that's
and
right.
it doesn't, and it's not like Kansas City, which crosses, which is the same city that crosses, or even a metropolitan area. It's a completely separate metro area over a state line, and it's just like that state line, unless your metro area straddles it, that is a hard barrier.
Unless it's a really small, a lot of small cities.
Yeah. I mean, there's always exceptions.
There's a couple of exceptions to that. Yeah.
But if you've got distinct metro areas on different sides of a state line, that might as well be a titanium wall.
So the big show got that guy to where he was. He opens up another location, and he never gets another website across the state line. And he was in a moderately densely populated area.
Right.
And never was willing to spend money on that again. And this whole thing isn't even. It is about that. Let's talk about the money on it real quick of the big show. Because the guy calls up, he's like, I buy leads. I'm looking for leads. I'm going to read a couple of leads that I have for our services. He said, I buy leads. And I'm like, you're buying leads. I'm not going to sell you a lead in that manner because this is the big show for where the damn leads, where the leads come from.
Right.
It's where they come from. And you spend more than that. I said, how much do you spend? He said, I spend $10,000 a month on leads. Because the water restoration guys, and he buys any lead he can get that was in the area of a storm.
Right.
Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and those are expensive leads.
They are expensive leads. You could buy, I think, as little as 20 leads and spend $10,000.
Yeah.
So for this sort of stuff. So he'll spend big money on leads, but he won't spend small money on his branded company image in order to get more leads than all that other stuff combined. Like he would not do it. So all these people that we're talking about, just so that everybody's fully understanding, if they choose not to participate in the big show, choose not to brand a company to show up on Google, on organic, they will spend vast more money. And then they will be disillusioned over and over again because of how much those leads cost. Because the $10,000 has a poor rate of return.
Right. And it should be noted, emphasized really, that when you're paying $10,000 a month for leads, the lead source that you're buying them from, you're buying their ticket to the big show.
Correct.
And you're in the parking lot.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
You don't get in, but you're paying their way in. Because the money you pay them for leads, they're using it to build their brand and their SEO so that people come to them they can get leads that they sell you.
So you're on a paid parking meter.
Yeah.
And your meter runs out all the time. Yeah. It's quarters nonstop.
Right.
You're kicked out of the show if you don't pay.
Right.
And they're the ones that paid to be in the big show.
And they're up in a skybox with your money.
That's right. And your rate of return is poor.
Right.
Now, I'm going to read one. This isn't a bad one. I'm going to call this guy looking to have a roofing website designed. So that is the message.
That's the whole message.
That's the whole message. It's fine. I'm not going to read a lot into it, but what I do read into it, I'm not going to, let me say this, I'm not going to completely kill the lead, not call the guy.
Right.
But what it tells me is that he's looking to get a roofing website design. Well, what would that do for him? If he got a roofing website design, it's going to sit there as a brochure and do nothing. He wants a roofing website design because he wants leads. He wants a business. So there's a lot more to it, and hopefully that was just a simple message. And I'm going to read another one. And this one came...
Hopefully he's not going to be closed off to the idea that it's more than just putting up a website.
Correct.
Right.
Because it's not going to make him a dime. Why would you put up a website?
Right.
So if you're door knocking a hailstorm, you need a website quickly and you want a good looking one, get the cheapest good looking website you can and expect it to never show up in ranking, fine.
Yeah.
Other than that, but nobody ever...
If you just want a website for the people who pick up your door knocker to go to to get your phone number or whatever, that's fine.
Right.
Get a cheap one that looks nice. But if you want your website to perform, you have to think at the next level.
Nobody ever calls me truly just wanting a design.
Yeah.
Like ever. And if they do, I can hear them lying to themselves and to me on the phone while they tell me that they just want a design. Well, no, I didn't. Just wanted a design. Yeah. Enter like Austin Powers or some shit. Just wanted a design. You know, I didn't really want to be successful in life. I was really just looking for a website so that when I went up there and looked at it, it was nice. You know,
it made me feel good about myself.
Makes me feel good about myself. Yeah, nobody ever really calls and wants a website design.
Right.
That is not the intent. There's another guy, small company looking for lead generation. I Googled the area code in a small state in a small town. So I have some more opinions about this statement. Small company looking for some lead generation. First off, if somebody looks for lead generation, there's nothing wrong inherently within that itself, but there typically is with the person asking for it. Because the person
I like the fact that they said lead generation rather than looking to buy leads.
True.
To me, that's a better way of looking at it.
But it's a small town person with a small town mind manifesting small time manifestations.
Yeah.
Whatever you have.
They said small company.
Right.
That's a hand in your face going, so I'm not paying much for it.
That is true.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not trying to slam anybody.
No,
you wouldn't say that if you weren't trying to set barriers.
This is thoughts or things and life manifestation stuff.
Right.
When someone says this stuff to you, they're letting you know, I'm a small company, therefore I'm not going to pay much, and I expect less for me and my company. And I don't have, here, sir, I've got a couple of dollars, Nolan. Is that,
what can I get for this?
By the way, this less money that I'm giving you, I expect everything.
I expect more return than the people who pay you more.
Yeah, so, well, we don't charge less. We're not going to, he doesn't become a client.
Right, yeah.
Essentially. I will call the guy, but the chance of them becoming a client is extremely low. Yeah. And I this particular person is it's a sales guy that works at the company, which we don't work with because we work with building a brand to get leads and getting someone on the big show stage so that they can get regular call volume. He doesn't understand it, and then he's looking to go. He's describing the owner's company on their behalf. They may not think that way about their company, but that's his mentality. But then again, they're not calling me or taking the initiative. At least he took initiative to make a call, even if he's trying not to door knock. Yeah. But
and that could be a sales guy who doesn't want to door knock and wants to see if he can get leads a different way.
Yeah, so it's one thing. I did so there's a lot of reasons somebody wants to participate in the big show. You might push people to door knock, but they won't stay as long.
Right.
If you don't have some leads to supplement, there's a lot of reasons. People say, "Oh, door knocking's cheaper." This is when I said, no, you're absolutely wrong. Door knocking, you have to have your ZipRecruiter ad. You put ads in the paper. You have a manager. You're constantly taking them. You're eating with them before you go knock doors at Waffle House. You're paying for that. You're meeting them in a circle. You're hyping them up. You're giving away a jet ski. You're driving them in a van that has hired and non-owned auto. They're getting in a wreck. You're putting hired and non-owned auto on theirs. You're getting fined by the cities when you don't get your solicitation license for the day. There's all kinds of shit that goes down with a door knocking crew, you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff, a lot of bad stuff potentially. You getting bad reviews on your Google account if people are, you know, cussing while they're walking down the street with women and children around. You get, that's a review I read from a door knocking crew. Yeah, so there's a lot of weird shit that happens with door knocking and a lot of expensive shit that happens. You're splitting your commissions heavily. Door knocking's so much more expensive than participating in the big show, having a branded digital web presence and showing up on Google, that it's ludicrous how much cheaper it is.
Yeah.
On it.
I think the problem with digital marketing is that digital marketing tends to come in a chunk.
Yeah.
Like you get the bill every month.
Right.
And all that other stuff is little nickel and dime stuff that happens a little bit at a time every day. And people don't end up seeing how it adds up.
I don't have a problem with door knocking. I think it's fabulous overall. But you're going to spend tens of thousands per month on door knocking because of the commissions that you're getting out first. All the tiny expenses, like someone answering the phone, a manager that you're employing, dealing with them, your personal time that's taken away that could have been spent on figuring out how the hell to become the big show on digital marketing, bad reviews, extra insurance, employment ads over and over again because people don't stay. You could do door knocking, still had a group of estimators have the big show coming and be getting some inbound lead traffic off, pay less for those leads, and satisfy those salespeople better by working on the brand.
Right.
So there's just so many reasons that it should be. And when someone tells me or asks me, Nolen is, so they don't ask, they're not even asking me. Because sometimes I'll say, are you asking me? Are you telling me what I did? Because if you asked me what I did, and I've said this sometimes if I'm in a mood if you asked me, I'm responding. I'll respond. Well, yeah, Nolen. What? So no, we don't just do Google. That isn't what we do. Because he said, so you just do.
Yeah.
So I don't even know.
He was telling you.
Yeah. Is that a question?
He was telling you, but with a question mark.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I've labeled you, Nolen. At least he was nice enough to verbally, outwardly label me.
Yeah.
You know, instead of like, no, thanks.
He gave you something to refute instead of just,
A lot of people will say, well, you're not what I'm looking for. I'm like, oh, I'm not? Okay. So, and there's no dialogue.
Yeah.
Right? And I kind of wished I hadn't had this dialogue. At least we got a show out of it. Otherwise, my life was wasted trying to explain it. Because I didn't get a sale or any money. And he's not going to get out of the muck.
He's still a maybe, though.
He's a maybe. Yeah. He's a maybe. But it's okay. I don't mind talking to him. I don't. But yeah, it's like, at least some people say, well, you're not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for someone to lie to me, whisper in my ear, take my money, and make me $1 million. And if you can't do that, Nolen, I'm not interested in dealing with you. Yeah. You know, so it's like,
I honestly feel for these guys.
Yeah.
Because they get a lot of people who just tell them what they want to hear.
They do.
Like the one that I talked about before. He's the one with the second location, who's going to get that phone call, who they're going to tell them, oh, yeah, we can do that. Oh, we'll charge half the price to get both of those locations hopping. Da, 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 da. And it's like, how are they going to do 2 locations widely separated where you've destroyed locality by putting it on one website for half the money that we did one location? It's like, tell me.
Well, that'll happen eventually, but you know, it'll get. I told a story on here one time. It was don't effing patronize me.
Yeah.
You know,
good episode about it.
It was a good episode, but don't effing. So if Jason and or me or whoever talks to this client too much, says too much, this is where, like, I got patronized by a doctor. Yeah. And in some ways I'm like, okay, fine. You're a doctor.
You're a doctor.
I don't know.
You went to school a lot.
Anything compared to what you know. You looked at me and judged me and deemed me too difficult or unworthy of sitting there and explaining all that information, or me not wanting to pay you to hear it.
Right.
Nor does he have time. If Jason goes to this guy and starts peeling away the layers of what's going on at some point in time. So you do at some point have some responsibility to be reasonable.
Yeah.
Come to the table with your professional people and at least have an open attitude towards it. If he goes and starts peeling back the layers, that guy's going to look at Jason and say, "You're not doing what I want." Just at least this guy made a statement with a question mark, and I'm like, I will defend myself here.
Yeah.
No, sir. And he's like, so you just, and I'll have people make a bunch of statements in a row. I said, wow, you just made a lot of statements on narratives that you obviously believe one after another, and I refute all of them, and you're completely incorrect, and it's completely not true. And they'll say, oh, I said, all of what you just said is made up in your head and not true. So but if Jason goes down, this person is a client.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone that works with us this morning about the boundaries to an honest communication. And this was on a different level of something else going on with someone that works here. And I cannot pass certain boundaries with people. There's just unwritten boundaries.
Right.
So someone wants to talk about something, but I'm not going to go there because I am the business owner, employer. I might even after a certain period of time say, okay, I'll work with this person. They're employed by me, a little bit of a friend. But since I'm employed and the owner, I can't go past a certain point. So when someone does business with us and says, you do this, and we say, hey, by the way, you have to be astute enough and educated enough to listen.
Right.
And he's not going to patronize that person. It's a little bit different of an angle, but we are at some point going to say, okay, because if he pushed him too hard, he'll just cancel right then.
Yeah. Yeah. I try not to just say no. I don't ever say no, we're not doing that.
You're the boss.
You're
the boss.
Unless they're asking me to do something that contradicts actual policy.
Yeah.
Or do something illegal, obviously.
Put on a dress and calling you Nancy.
No, you cannot do
Jason,
that.
would you put on a dress and yeah. Let me call you Nancy and FaceTime right now. So,
no.
I took your joke, bro.
You took my line, bastard.
I took your line.
He was doing a bit when we tried the same one last week, and I did that, and he liked it. And
it was fantastic.
He stole it from me.
But yeah, we were gonna work it in naturally. But then I took it.
The thing went off. See, the thing we did last week is he was talking about sales routines, and they ask you questions like, "How would you say you would want to, sign up for a digital marketing?"
Sir, if I could show you this and that and the other,
and they get you saying yes, and I added on to the end, "Would you put on a dress and let me call you Nancy?" Joke thief.
Sorry, bro. And mine wasn't as good as what yours was. The timing was like, meh.
Yeah, man. But anyway, at a certain point, I'm going to say that's not the best approach.
But you're the boss.
I want it. Okay, fine.
It's not the best approach, but you're the one that pays us money. At the end of the day, we'll do what you ask.
And when this happens, I go to Nolen and I say, the client is insisting. We went over everything. Occasionally, if it's dire enough, you'll call them and have a come to Jesus. But it hardly ever works.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll take that because you're the top authority at the company.
It hardly ever works.
They'll be like, okay, maybe they're serious. Right. Maybe this isn't just some lackey being lazy, because that's inevitably what they think.
Jason will come tell me, I'll be like, oh, God.
Yeah, every time it's like, well, all right.
They may or may not.
That one's on the clock now.
They may or may not last.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is what it is. But yeah, so I had to leave this with anybody on what to do. It's your job as a business owner to eventually figure this out.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that anything's wrong with you. It's taken me so long to figure out some stuff that's so painful that it's taken so long.
Well, that was the point I was making about feeling a little sorry for these guys sometimes, is they've got all these other companies who just tell them whatever they want to hear.
That's true. Yeah.
And so that guy that you were talking to was smart enough to recognize, I'll give him huge props for this.
Yeah.
Him saying, you're the first person that's been honest with me.
He saw the reason behind all of it. I said, go find this anywhere. You're a general contractor. Type in the words that you're looking for and show me where somebody shows up for the word you're talking about with roofing. You have the word restoration in your name, by God. Like, And unless it's a small town, you won't find it anywhere in the nation.
Right.
So he listened, and I was like, and on top of that, who wants to call water restoration for a roof or vice versa? And so he listened to it, and it's like, that's why you can only buy a lead, because nobody will come to you anywhere else, nor would Google even show this crud to anyone.
I mean, he listened to you.
He did listen.
I give him like mad respect for that, because he recognized the fact that he's been lied to before, and maybe he was finally getting the truth.
It's not. I'm not making fun of a roofer and this stuff. I'm trying to help people so that we can have a successful marketing relationship.
It's hard for them because they're getting all these other people saying, yeah, we can do that.
Right.
And they get one guy saying, no, that's a bad idea. You need to do it this way.
It's tough.
And so they're like, well, that everybody else says this other thing.
Is that true? Yeah. Is Nolen right? I don't know. But yeah, so I myself have taken so long, and I've told you this before, it's just, life sucks in that manner. It's like, how long does it take to figure shit out, to make enough money, to have the life you want?
Yeah.
And it takes your whole freaking life,
Pretty much.
Your whole life.
You waste all your best years trying to figure it out, and by the time you know it, you're 50.
You're breaking down. Yeah, it's like half my time now is spent on longevity and like health span.
Yeah.
Forget lifespan. I just want to be healthy right now,
Right.
like all the time, so that you have energy to do all the other things you want to do.
Right.
But I'm very knowledgeable about everything as I go, so I'm much more effective than I used to be. But it takes decades to figure out some of this stuff. Some roofers and business people, or let me rephrase it, most will never figure this out.
Right.
To be able to live a good life. So our other podcast, Roofers Paradise, I delve into this question. I think talking about with J-Man is like, do I talk about that too much? Is it over? I think some people just start a business, but why? But why are you doing it? You're the guy with enough testosterone to start a business, but what's the purpose of it?
Right.
But anyway, you've got to figure this one out. If you can't figure out that you have to brand your company and participate digitally, you're going to be that hustler for the leads forever. There's nothing wrong with hustling for leads, but without the branded company, you're missing the big show.
You never get off that treadmill.
Yeah,
ever.
It's not a great life. You've missed the big show. The big show is where you want to be. It's what we do a great job of helping you with, and we're happy to, absolutely happy to. Anybody that listened all the way through to this will not come to me in the condition of the guy that said that you just do this.
Hopefully people listen and they don't get insulted and say, F those guys.
I didn't insult anybody. Yeah. I didn't insult anybody. I don't.
No, I mean, you didn't, but people were prickly and weird sometimes.
I want that guy to do well as that. Listen, he listened to me.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully he signs up and listens to us going forward.
My take on that guy, by the way, which I would be honored to have him as a client, and we would treat him with utmost respect, I'm not calling him back. He has to call back of his own resolve.
Yeah. So he has to let everything you said to him percolate and say, you know what, that's what I'm going to do.
Correct.
And call you.
My time is too valuable. I'd love to talk to people. I'd love to hear from anybody on listening to this right now. I'm grateful to have a phone call and to have a new client. But anybody listening to this is far above the average person. I'll leave people with this, by the way. I'll leave everybody with this. We did one the other day. I've talked about it a couple of times now. We may have talked about it on the one the big show one that we didn't do. You only have about 2% of the people out there fighting against you.
Right.
Once you enter in ring with us helping you, you're in less than top 1%.
Right.
You're in like 1/4% above everyone else from a digital marketing perspective advantage.
Oddly enough, the big show doesn't have a lot of people in it.
The big show has almost no one competing.
Right.
So yeah, there is almost no one there competing against you. Anybody that listened all the way through this, I am always happy to take a call or get an email or a text or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyone that listened all the way through this is so far ahead of the crowd already. The question is, will they choose to have professional services?
Right.
And will they treat their business with respect and brand it so that they can be the big show? There's only a few roofers in every market that are the big show.
They do it, yeah.
Yeah.
Very few.
In a large metropolitan area like we're in, there might be 50 of them.
If that.
because you take all the
and there's hundreds of roofers in this market.
There's thousands.
It's just in this market.
No,
yeah.
I've heard numbers on this before
Really?
from the I can't remember the organization. It's not North Texas, but anyway, but yeah, there are thousands just in Dallas.
Wow.
So we have probably shingled 10,000 roofers around here. And when I say there's 50, you're talking GBP proximity and user intent, that person, those ones in Fort Worth, those ones in Dallas and Arlington and Plano and Denton and the other Louisville and the big cities around.
Yeah.
So there's maybe 100 of those actually. So out of the 10,000, there's about 100. But of the 100, half of those fell ass backwards into the big show.
Yeah.
If somebody fought against those 50, you can knock them out.
Yeah.
So you think
we know because we do it.
We do it all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I've actually got I'm meeting is it next week after next? I've got a podcast with the guy that broke away that I told you I was going to call out of Houston.
Okay. Cool.
That's a big show.
Yeah.
And he started just about a year ago.
Yeah.
And he broke.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and he broke into it. He's in the game.
Yeah.
And in a massive
He told me
market.
just the other day that his call volume has shot up. He's doing well.
He started out as from scratch.
Yeah.
He had nothing.
Yeah.
So he's in the big show. At least half the people in the show are there by default because Google doesn't have anything better.
Right.
So when you have top
or
quality service,
they happen to put a website up back when nobody had one yet.
Tenure and trust.
They just did it, and they've never worked on it, but they've got tenure and all that.
Yeah.
So they get a little grace from Google.
Yeah, it's you can fight your way in. Half the people can be knocked.
Yep.
It might take you a little bit of time, a little more time for the size of the marketplace, but you can do it within 3 to 4 months to 6-8 months.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you won't get one single lead before that time. It just means you can nestle up into the pack 3 for keywords and start getting up there. That guy gets daily call volume.
Nice.
Out of Houston.
Nice.
Yeah.
Houston's even more competitive than Dallas in terms of roofer market, I think.
I would agree with you.
Houston's up there with Denver.
I would agree because the landmass of Houston and the word Houston.
Yeah.
In Dallas-Fort Worth, we have 15 cities, 20 maybe. And if you're up in the Pac 3 mapping there, you got a life.
Yeah.
In Houston, there's Houston and maybe 5 or 10 cities. We might have 30 here actually.
We have a lot of cities around here that have over 100,000 people.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
There's a lot. Yeah. And Houston has Houston and then maybe another 5.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, guys, get in the game. If you're interested in services, call us up. Love to speak with you. Subscribe
and hit the like button.
Yeah, subscribe.
We're remembering to do that today.
There you go. You want to see more of the stuff, and we're bringing you the best stuff possible. This is the big show. Get in the game. You don't know what you don't know. You just have no idea what you're missing out on. We'll see you next time around.
Take it easy.